Welcome back to another episode of Photoshop Basics and Webtrickshome. In this video, we'll be looking at the clone stamp tool as well as the pattern stamp tool. Let's get started. Clone stamp tool can be used to clone one section of the document and paint it on the other section. You can also clone objects from one document and paint it in another document. Make sure that the brightness, hue and the perspective match perfectly in such cases. You can see the clone stamp tool right below the brush tool in your tools bar. Select it and you can see a couple of options on the options bar that help you personalize the output. The first one is the brush preset to change the size, hardness and the tip shape of your brush. We have already gone through this in our brush tutorial, right? Then you have got the brush preset panel and we have gone through this as well. Then you have got the clone source panel. Here you can see the clone samples that allow you to store multiple samples. If you want to work back and forth with multiple samples, you can toggle between the samples and select the one you need to work with. Let's say I want to store this object as my first sample. Hold the Alt or Option key in your keyboard and click on the document and you can see the sample preview is visible on your brush. Paint anywhere you need to and the same object will be painted. Let's select the other sampling tool from here and take a sample from somewhere. Let's say the bonnet of this car. Paint anywhere and you'll see that painted, right? Click on the first sampling tool and you can get back the previous sample. That will relieve you from needing to remember the exact spot from where you took the sample previously. Then you have got the offset value over here, which will basically keep record of the coordinates within the document where you click the first time while applying the cloning, and then keep your painting aligned to the clone document wherever you paint thereafter. If you uncheck the alignment option on the options bar, then it will hold the exact coordinates from where the samples were taken and start the paint from the same point anywhere you click on the document. It becomes highly useful when you are cloning something and you need to repeat some kind of object with edges on your painting which is not there on the actual document to copy all along. Keep the alignment option checked to get the entire object painted. Then you can manipulate the sample scale from here. You can uncheck the link icon to increase the width and height independently in the sample. You can flip the sample horizontally or vertically as well. Let's set the scaling back to default. Then you can manipulate the angle of the sample. That will be highly useful when working on the curves. Let's take a sample from here and see how it works with the default settings. Try painting a little ahead and you can see the sample won't match the subject. Reduce the angle. And you can see the sample curve matches the subject. You can increase the angle value to rotate it in clockwise direction. Then you have got the show overlay option that will make the sample preview appear inside the cursor. Check it off and you won't be able to see that. You can change the opacity of the sample preview too in order to make yourself comfortable while painting over the subject. Then you have got a couple of blending modes to preview the sample. That will give you an idea how the cloning would appear if those blending modes are applied to the paint. Best use of this blending mode will be to see the preview in areas where normal preview won't be distinctly visible. Then you have got the clipped option that will clip the sample and make only the part inside the brush tip visible. Check it off and you'll see the entire clone object moving within the brush. Then you have got auto hide that will hide the sample preview when the brush is active on the document. That will give you a better overview of the output than having to see the preview while painting. Then the last option in this panel is invert that will invert the sample colors, and that can be helpful in areas where the sample isn't distinctly visible. Then you have got all the options that you had seen with the brush option except the alignment option that we saw a few minutes ago. You can opt between current layer or multiple layers depending upon in which layer you want to work and from which layer you want to take sample. You can also see the option to include or exclude adjustment layer while taking samples. So let's have a look on how we can use clone stamp tool to edit images. In this image, I don't like the presence of the vehicles. I would like to remove all of them from this image. So let's start taking samples and remove them. Try to align the edges as much as possible and focus on the highlights and shadows to make them as much realistic as possible. That's all you need to do with this tool. that's all done then. You can see here's the before and here's the after. Let's see the pattern stamp tool then. Select it. You can see similar options on the options bar. There's an additional option to select the pattern and one more option to make the pattern look like brush strokes. You know how to select pattern from the library or use it from online sources, right? You have already learned how to create a pattern on your own too. So let's select a pattern and see how it works. You can see the output here. Let's check the impressionist option and paint again. And you can see the artistic output here. Let's work with the pattern tool in another document. Let's try to remove all those people from the stairs. The easiest way may be the pattern tool. Let's create a pattern of these empty stairs. Then all you need to do is paint over it. You can use the hard brush to align the edges. Let's fill the layer first. Then reduce the opacity to see the edges. Then select the unwanted areas and delete them. Now you can see the empty spheres. Though the area was too big and the pattern was quite smaller, it did a pretty decent job. Well, that's all for today. Thanks for watching and please subscribe our channel for more videos. Thank you.